Hey, everybody. Here I am. Here we are. 9 p.m. Eastern, depending on what time zone you're in. But we're gonna have a good show tonight. Um, we're gonna cover. Roman's going to be here shortly, very shortly, and we're going to cover dogs with children, and reactive dogs to children, dogs that's bitten children. So you're not going to want to miss this. You might be surprised what's going on. Okay, so but anyway, well, here's Roman. I'm going to bring Roman up. He's our co-host for tonight. Hi, Roman.
Hello. How you guys doing?
All right. So all right. Well, I already played the intro video for Roscoe. Everybody, Roscoe. You guys remember we got him out at the 11th hour, and big black and white boy. He's big boy too, and he's good. He's a good dog. So he was in a short-term foster, and now now it's time to move him to a regular foster, or he can be adopted. So we had to pre-record his segment because of scheduling stuff, but I think we did an okay job. I even wore the same shirt. Okay, we just did it last night or night before. But at the same time, I wanted to debut this. There's Roscoe right there behind me. We've got the system resources now to do video on the green screen. So I just had to show off a second. I hope you don't mind. Oops, wrong. So anyway, we're going to bring up our pre-recorded video. And we've got a cool feature that StreamYard is doing now called Picture in Picture. Me and Roman shrink and we go way down to the left corner and you get to see Roscoe and his foster. So, all right, everybody, we'll be watching for your comments and I hope you're enjoying this. And here's Roscoe. All right. So now we're going to bring our guest dog up. And some of you folks remember Roscoe, the big boy is black and white. And I think Reagan wants to say something, give you a little bit of background on it.
So Roscoe, I had the pleasure of helping to transport him. He was from a Kansas shelter where he was an owner surrender, and he was there for a couple of months waiting on a rescue to rescue him. And
that was us.
That was us. He's such a beautiful boy. The shelter staff and other rescues there that were able to evaluate him and work with him, they all absolutely fell in love with him.
Didn't they keep extending his stay?
They did. He was on the euthanasia list several times, kept extending his stay. Euthanasia list for lack of space. Yeah. So we were able to find a foster at the last minute, and I picked him up and we took a car ride, and he was right between the seats with his nose on my arm, and just a sweetheart.
Wow. And I'll have a video for the show, but I don't have it yet. I've got it started, but I'm not finished with it yet. But by the time this airs on Saturday, you'll get to see the video. So, well, I'd like to bring Roscoe up. What do you think?
Let's bring him up.
All right, Dean, here we come. Well, looky there. We've got Roscoe in action. Wowzer. What a good looking dog. What a big dog you have there, Dean.
Oh, yeah, he's big. He can fill up a couch.
Wow. Any idea how much that boy weighs?
Last time we weighed him was 97 pounds, but the way he's eating right now, he could be a couple pounds more than that. He's been doing really good.
And he's got a lot of legs, doesn't he?
Oh, he's all legs.
Wow. Boy, look at that face, man. I'll tell you what. That looks like could be Caracaccian, maybe Border Collie or mixed in with him. But that fur coat, that looks like Akbash to me. But nothing else matches.
I think he's got some Raffiero.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. whatever
Portuguese.
that breed is. So Dean, he looks like a pretty friendly guy around there.
Oh, he's really friendly. He just loves attention.
Okay.
He's,
And now, is he a couch potato? Can you both fit on the couch at the same time?
his head takes up my whole lap, basically. But yeah, he stretches right out on the couch and lays there. And we were watching football last week, a couple games together.
Yeah. Now that's a big
that's
dog.
supposed to be for two people there. That seat is.
Yeah, not with him around. Good thing he's laying on the floor. He probably doesn't fit on it. That's a good picture. Now, how old is he? Do you know? Do we know?
Well, the shelter estimate is 5, but when he went to the vet, they estimated between 6 and 8 years old because he has some joint issues with his knees.
Okay.
He had X-rays, and what they called were mice in his knees.
Bone fragments.
Yes.
That's scary. I knew what that was. I only knew that because Linda told me.
Yeah. So either he's a dog or he's younger, but he's lived a hard life. One or the other.
Okay. All right.
So he really needs a where have to go up and down flights of stairs every day.
Right. You're cutting now. Your audio cuts out. We just tested her audio. All right.
Darn.
So what she said was he needs a home that doesn't have a lot of stairs. And we're having a problem with that at Dean's house. Everywhere he goes, he's got to go up or down stairs. Okay. But he's got a beautiful deck. I mean, that's just got a lot of stairs. So
16
anyway.
stairs to get up to the top of it.
Yeah. But
and he's on an anti-inflammatory, and he's doing great.
Okay. You cut out when you said anti what?
Inflammatory.
Oh, he's on anti-inflammatories. Okay. So, but I think Dean did notice him limping a little or favoring or something, right? And that's what prompted the vet visit. So,
yes.
All right. Now, also, he's not neutered quite yet, and because they had to take care of this other stuff, so that's still got to happen. But we need a foster home with no steps. Okay, he's not negotiated them well, and trust me, when you get him, you're going to get something just like this. And you never know. You never know what else you get out of him. So, wow. I'll tell you, he looks like a joy to be with down there.
Oh, he's fun. He's a good boy. Yeah, this is going to be hard. This is hard for me to do.
Yeah, I know it. But we still gotta watch out for him. And yeah, we gotta watch out for him. I mean, it's not just all about him; it's about others too. So, but anyway,
he still plays like a puppy. The sock on the floor. He stole that from my wife's laundry, and she was chasing around the basement to get it from me. He was playing with her the whole time, playing keep away. he likes white socks for some reason. That's the only thing he'll ever grab.
Well, what's funny for me, he likes to play keep away.
Oh, those legs really don't bother him. He just keeps them stiff, basically. He runs like a deer almost.
I see that.
And he
so
runs
he kind of funny hops.
He runs around circles all the time when he's happy.
Huh.
So don't see it bothering him. It just doesn't walk as like normal.
Right. GPRescue.com fostering. Now, can he go straight to an adopter if that comes up, or are you going to want to foster first?
He could go straight to an adopter. He's very dog friendly. He loves dogs. Don't know about cats.
Roscoe.
So, well, we never know about cats, all right? That's a hard one to tell because just because he gets along with one cat doesn't mean he's going to get along with another. So, yep. If you want to adopt him, I guess they're going to say yes, providing you meet. Oh, look at this! He gets to play.
That's one of his blankets he was on in the car.
Okay.
So we got a comforter he sleeps on now.
I think
sleeping that around too.
This is a comfort blanket.
I like that picture. Now everybody can see it. But my favorite one is which way's up, Dad? I had to study that picture. I'm going to leave it up here for a second because if I had to study it, other people may have to too. Yeah, and plus we're seeing it in real life too. And to get an idea, There's how big he is.
Mhm.
You take some good pictures, Dean.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, and here's another good one there. That's a little close up, but we got live close up here. So I love his face, man. I'll tell you, that's awesome, isn't it?
Yes.
And he's right there. That tells me he's waiting on his next directive. Okay, what do you want me to do next, Dad? I'll do it. Oh, I don't want to do that. Maybe. Nah, not that either. But anyway, how long have you had him there? A month, Dean?
Yeah, a month yesterday, I believe.
Okay. So GPRescue.com, where it's happening, that's where it's happening. Do you have anything you'd like to add before we move on?
Well, no, whoever gets him, I really feel they're gonna be a lucky person. He's made a difference with me already.
They have a
It's gonna
funny
be a
way.
hard trip.
They have a funny way of doing that, don't they?
Oh,
Of
if
making
they
it-
get him a little so get taxed easy too. So
Yeah, they have a funny way of doing that, and they make a difference in your life. There's no doubt. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So anyway, GPRescue.com. If it's happening, that's where it's happening, especially for Roscoe. So, all right. Well, we're going to move along, and it looks like Dean may have to take him out to go potty too. You never know. So, Dean, thank you for coming on. Thank you for fostering, and
Thanks.
he
No,
looks
you're welcome.
great. He looks good.
Yes.
well, we've been trying to keep good care of him.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
No.
yeah, looks like somebody wants out.
He's going out. That's the way to get out there.
And he knows that's the way out. There he goes. All righty, Dean. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Dean.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Yep.
All righty. Bye now. Well, what a dog, huh? He's a big boy. GPRescue.com. That was Roscoe. Okay. He was the last minute boy that we had gotten. So, all right. Well,
It's
we
cute,
got
and this comfort blanket is very important, right?
the
We need to
blanket.
yeah, very important.
That's his lioness blanket.
Yeah, and likely in greeting procedures and meeting people, giving something in exchange will super helpful.
Right. Yep. Especially stealing the sock from his wife too. So
Yeah,
that
that's
was the other
comfort. That's
sin.
comfort behavior.
Yes. Oh, I agree,
And-
100%.
And sometimes taking that away causes other issue, resource guarding, etc., etc.
But we can't do stairs. Okay, we can do a couple steps, but Dean, everywhere you go in his house, it was upstairs. Okay,
Poor guy.
even his deck. I think he said he had 18 of them going up to his deck. Front doors got. I mean, that's just he can't negotiate that any longer.
Yep, healthy food makes a big difference.
Yep. So if you have a slab and you like Roscoe, there you go. And you're absolutely right. Because of Dean, Roscoe has a chance at a new life. Absolutely. And that's why that video I played before we opened him up, we were stressing that a short-term foster saved Roscoe's life. Absolutely. And we need them. We need short-term. We need regular fosters. That was an emergency thing. So anyway, moving on. We got a heck of a show tonight, and we're gonna be full of information here, in all ways. So let's get going here. Dogs with children. Okay. With GP Rescue, if you got a child, a young child, you're just not getting a dog there. Some rescues put an age limit on it, like 8. I think some put 10 years old. But young children, that is that has been disastrous.
Well,
So,
let's look at that a little bit, because there are multiple factors that happen here. We have COVID kids, and we have COVID dogs, and we have COVID parents, and we have this COVID social disaster happening. And so we have a lot of dogs out there in the rescue market that are actually COVID dogs. They are not socialized. People were always home. People try to save money, they reach out to less expensive food, they avoid training, socialization is not working, and all of a sudden these problems compensate. And then we're going to end up with this issue, right? When this why many rescues don't want that to be kind of like going to children that are younger because they don't want to be that risk. So 26% of fatalities were children 0 to 2 years old of all the dogs that beat children the last years.
Wow. That
So
is
that's a big number,
a
26%,
big number.
right? And then if you look further down the road, we're going to see that 340,000 children went to an emergency care, meaning is it was so severe that they had to go to emergency care, and those children are 5 to 9 years old, right? So 31,552 children were involved in 2018.
That's only
Now,
3 years ago. That
right,
this is
and
that's in a
COVID is not
3-year period.
COVID is not included, which is a 300% increase.
Yes.
300%, like
Why?
3 times.
What's going on?
Well, first of all, there are multiple reasons that happened. The main reason is everybody wanted a dog.
Mhm.
Okay, so breeders would not give up dogs because dogs are not kind of like off the shelf. So people will go to backyard breeders, right? What do you do alone at home? I get a dog, right? And then many shelters open up their doors, and all the dogs came out. And shelters didn't have the people to do home visits. So whoever came to get a dog got a dog. And so this cry out of rescues and shelters, come pick up a dog because we have nobody here to care for them, opened up a flood of people wanting just a dog with no previous history of experience. They just took whatever they want. And of course, the shelter, come and take it.
Yeah.
We wanted to put him to sleep anyway, right?
Can you put that back up for a second? That total number is that in the country since 2018, or is that worldwide? I don't.
Well, that's USA.
That's USA.
Yeah.
Now, the next time you yell at a rescue because your child is 6 years old and they won't give you a dog, remember that.
Right. And
Right.
we just have to be honest here. If a child doesn't control his emotions, right? And we cannot tell the child because it's young, don't do that.
Mhm.
What kind of expectations do we have for the dog to tolerate and understand logical sequences of the dog should know better?
No,
Wait, what?
no,
Okay.
it's not the dog's job to get along with the children.
No, and we have to see the parenting responsibility. If you cannot manage your child, and a rescue can see that in a home visit, how would the rescue believe that you can manage a dog who doesn't even speak the same language? Right? So there's a parenting thing in the background that causes all those issues. So if we look further down in that thing, we will see that coronavirus, okay, 300% increase, and dog bites were 300% increase of dog bites injuries per 1,000 emergency department patients.
Wow.
Okay, these are recently reports. It's not something I've come up here to make impression. Now, one other thing that we see here is if we look closer into the reasons why happened, is because no other person around to intervene to protect the dog bite. And when that's fatalities, right? They're not bite injuries. There are dogs who killed children. There was nobody there, 68%, 86%, 87% to be exact. So all those people says, well, I was there, but I just went to the kitchen to kind of, because the milk was boiling, and then things happened.
I turned my back just for a second.
Right? Now, the victim had no relationship with the dog, 83%. Wait.
Wow.
The dog had no relationship, the person had no relationship with the dog.
Does that mean they didn't know the dog?
No,
were
no, they
visitors?
did not. They didn't have a relationship.
Okay, all right.
Okay, they were not friends. They were not buddies. They were just coming for a visit. For
Okay,
example, the uncle brought the kids to his sister,
got
playing with the dogs because that's what they always do. Now the sister has a dog. Let's meet the dog, right? Or the neighbor came over, meet the kids because there's a party going on. The kid has birthday, and all of a sudden, boom, it happened, right? Then we have the dog was not neutered or spayed,
That's amazing.
78%.
Why
Now,
did they include that in there?
here is a good question. Many people says, well, yeah, because it didn't spay and neuter. Well, here's another thing. It is a combination of things because A, the dog was too young, right? That is one option.
Mhm.
B, the dog didn't have any care at all.
Mhm.
So the dog was just free roaming. Likely there was no parenting involved, so no social education. And we see the more souther we get, the more these issues are prominent. Then the compromised physical ability of the victim. Wait, people who were disabled were 70% of those cases,
Wow.
68.7%. People were compromised in physical ability. So I was not able, I was too old, I was too young, I couldn't handle the dog, I couldn't hold the dog, I couldn't run away, I couldn't jump over, all these things happened, right? Then we have the dog kept as a resident dog rather than a family pet,
Big difference.
right?
Hmm.
Then mismanagement of dogs, 39%, and owner's abuse, neglect, 20%. Now,
That's a interesting number there.
yeah, I would say the 20% of abuse and neglect will also go into the part three of the dogs not nurtured and spayed, 77%,
Hmm.
because it's a correlationship. People don't go to the vet, right?
Yeah.
People neglect their dogs. They think they're just animals, they're just hanging out in their yard doing nothing, right? So even though these are pure numbers, if we look deeper into how these numbers assemble and look into these fatalities in the history of the fatalities, like how it happened, we see that there was always a neglect. There was always a trauma associated with that. The dog wasn't socialized. Nobody really cared about the dog. The dog was a gift to somebody who didn't have the money to care for the dog. It's always intertwined with each other. And these are fatalities, not just bite injuries. Person dead, child dead. Okay. Now, why
Wow.
we're having this conversation is literally the last couple of months, at least every other week, there is one child severely injured or killed,
Right.
which throws the statistic off the chart because usually it's about, let's say, like 30, 40 fatalities a year. All of a sudden, we have like 10 fatalities a month.
Right. Now,
And it's
let
it's
me
not
clear
funny.
something up here.
Yeah.
Let me do a little bit of clarity. This is all breeds, okay? Not just our guardian breeds.
No, this is general dogs.
This is
But
generalized.
there are 43 different breeds involved in this chart. We don't care which breeds there are, or maybe we
Right.
do. But you know what? There is breed legislation. We have to be very careful what we say and what we do and what we claim. Many people says my dog attacked my child, and basically what the dog is jumped on the child and want to lick him to death.
Words can do a lot of
Right.
damage.
And there is a dog jumped on the child because it's bigger and scratched his face. Obviously, the dog bit the child, and so this all these overwhelming situations that happened. The majority of things that I perceive from working with people is I have to be very careful how I put it there. Let me put my words together.
I know
So
what he's going to say.
the majority is people didn't see it coming.
That's
They
right.
thought it's just okay. He's just playing. He's gonna grow out of it. And the other majority of cases is where people use wrong training techniques proactively to make the dog comply in the future, which is aggressive dominant roles, hard corrections, yelling, punching, poking, shake a cans, shock collars, and all these aversive devices. Now, why I say that is because if you teach your dog aggression, you will see aggression.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
cannot use aggression to reduce aggression. And here is another magic part. Dogs learn from observation. Pyrenees are masters in observing and learning,
They created the term monkey see, monkey do.
right? Pyrenees see, Pyrenees do. So let's play an example. Mother is in the kitchen, kids run in the house, mom yells at the kids, "Stop running around." Dog observed. Mother in the kitchen, kids running, mother upset, yells, children stop. So we have a guardian breed who learns his job from observations, right? He's not giving any exams. So he sees that mother gets upset of kids running. The next thing he's going to do, dog steps in before mom gets upset. So the moment the door opens up, the dog is right at the kid's face barking at them. Mom gets upset at the dog, yells at the dog. Obviously, the dog didn't do enough. He's going to escalate to the next level because obviously what he did wasn't good enough. And we see all of a sudden we have a trajectory. The next thing is going to happen. The dog starts growling and is aggressive to the kids before they even come to the house. Then you call a trainer. Of course, the trainer will see a dog is guarding the mom, not seeing where it's coming from. And then here we have a disaster brewing. Either the dog is being punished to exhaustion or he's being surrendered to the rescue. And then the rescue has to deal with it. And the story goes, bad dog
That's right.
went after the kids.
That's right.
So my first question is, what happened? When did it happen? Who was present? When was it happen? How long ago did it happen? What was your reaction? What was the kids' reaction? Like literally, I'm feeling sometimes I'm doing an FBI job, doing a profiling. And that's what I have to do. Because for me, the dog is the victim.
Mhm.
Right? Even if people think are the victims. For me, the dog is the victim because he cannot protect himself. And so once we look into that, we see also, oh, well, the dog was on crappy food. People believe they were on good food. But what happens, and I'm happy to share that with you, low quality food, just like with children, causes aggression. We know from studies that children who eat crappy food purchased in the school are more likely to be aggressive towards their partners in school. Same applies to dogs too. Crappy food causes hangry aggression. And what other happens is dogs get unhealthy because of these low quality ingredients, have allergies, yeast infections, ear pain, joint issues, inflammation, and all of a sudden the dog lives a miserable life without people being aware of. And then kids come into the equation, oh, I want to pet the dog, and all over his face, and all of a sudden they get the bite. And that is, I would say, like 70% of the time. When I look into the things, I can see all these patterns. Low quality food, we have yeast infections. People really try to go to the vet. They don't get enough help because the vet doesn't know what they're dealing with here. And there's wrong suggestion. Dogs are going on heavy medication causes even more issues, right? And not addressing the proper core issue, which is the digestive system. Dogs are hungry throughout the day. I have a couple of cases this week where literally the dog were starving on nutrients and they couldn't get enough food. And the people says, well, he's leaving his breakfast. He's eating enough. He doesn't want anymore because he cannot eat anymore. He's suffering with it. But if hunger is a lot, then he obviously has to eat even that makes him suffer.
It's what we it at one point in time, and I'm gonna have to say before COVID, I haven't had a lot of them during COVID. One of the shortest things that we do to one of the easiest things to heal is when a dog bites his mom or dad, because it's easy to find what caused that sometimes before COVID. Everything's kind of changed because with COVID, now mom and dad's in the way, where he used to have his time alone doing his job. Now he didn't. But anyway, that's a different story. So when we get to the bottom of it, if it goes this route, I'll say, what did you do to possibly make your dog think the only option he had was to bite his way through you? Okay. and usually sometimes they hang up on you, and then but sometimes we really get their interest, and usually they will call back eventually because they couldn't get it off their mind. What did I do to my dog? Because it's not normal for your dog to bite you. That's not normal. Okay. And Roman was talking about the training with the abusive adverse methods, forced submission, we call that. In my experience, 100% of the time that people use forced submission, someone gets bit. It may not be him, it may not happen right away, but 100% of the time, if you force your Pyrenees to submit to do things, someone's going to get bit. So
well, because the dog is afraid to bite the people who's going to hurt him, because this is a abusive relationship. I know it sounds strange, and then people get weird about it because I'm not abusing my dog. I love my dog. The trainer told me to do that. It's totally okay. I understand. But the fact is, the dog feel abused, and he cannot take it on his people who's being hurt. He's going to take it on other people.
That's right.
Okay. And then the other idea comes in. Well, he's going to fight his way through the pecking order. Dogs are carnivores. They are not chickens. So obviously pecking order doesn't exist.
No.
And obviously alpha theory is not existing because alphas are the breeding pair. And so the dog cannot assert his alpha onto other dogs because he's not the parent, obviously, right? And on the other hand, we need to be very careful. Again, if a dog gets frustrated, he's going to take it out somewhere that you are not there because he feels safe doing that. It has to go somewhere. So we cannot suppress it.
Whenever I work with a dog, or I'm working with somebody working with a dog, that's one of the things I tell them. If the dog gets frustrated, give him a timeout. If you get frustrated, give the dog a timeout, because it's probably you causing the frustration because he's not understanding what you're trying to say. So communication is very important. Great Pyrenees they're master communicators, man. They give you tons of signals. And then when they growl, that's because you missed the first ones. And how many were there? Hard to say. Depends how determined your dog was to talk to you. So, but growl is good. Write that down 100 times. Growl is good.
Example, I'm going to get my coffee in the morning and somebody grabs my coffee that's that name on it. I will growl at this person. Am I aggressive? No, I just let him know that my name on it. That's hey, right. Dude, it's my coffee. So dogs don't have this verbal intelligence. They're going to growl about it. Mm-hmm. But if we then, watch this, if we then go aggressively after the dog who growled, and the reason why the dog growled is because a child approached, the dog will make the connection. If person is there and the child approaches me, I shouldn't growl. But at some point, I need to protect myself. So obviously, the only thing I've left to bite.
Yep. A growl is, in my opinion, that's the second best form of communication they have with us. So because they had to get verbal.
Right. Many times we see subtle behaviors. For example, the dog just simply walking away. And obviously, the child wants to pet the dog. He's going to follow the dog like a predator. In the bathroom, in the kitchen, we'll corner the dog because he's just such a cute kid. He just wants to hug a dog, right? Right. And then the cute dog would just bite this child's face off. Bad dog. Right?
Yeah.
So we need to be very careful about that.
Yes.
Then the other thing that's very often that we see is kids and food, kids and kitchen. So mom is cooking in the kitchen. Now, there's a lot of saliva, and there is drooling. And then we have a competitor coming in that wants mom's attention. And the dog's already there, having another issue coming up, having the kids coming up that usually take things out of your mouth, like socks and toys and Lego stones and something like that. And of course, the dog will be reactive to that. And he will turn his head and growl at the kids. Hey, back off. We're feeding time here, dude. And boom, we have a disaster happening because mom freaks out, right? Because, growling, and then who knows what's going to happen, is going to kill your family or something. That's what they think. And
all he was doing was talking.
They handle the situation wrong, making it even worse. Now, the kid is on the target list. Now we need to keep the kids out of the kitchen. So even the kids shows up in the kitchen, there's no dinner time, the dog already may be reactive to the kid because you don't want mama to get upset. Because dogs don't recognize why mom gets upset. They think the same reason they get upset. Obviously, the kid shouldn't be here. Because dogs don't have this logic that we have, right? They have this concrete
They got
thoughts.
something. It's
You
just not
cannot
our
say
lot.
be a good dog
Yeah.
because a dog be good is kind of like intellectual, but you can say go to your place. It's very clear.
That's right.
So if you have that issue, instead of yelling at your dog or yelling at your kids, how about you introduce a new sequence of, hey dogs, go to your place, safe place. Children, never, ever, ever you approach your dog if he's on the bed. You don't kiss him goodnight. You don't pet him goodnight. He can come up to you when you call him, but you do not go to his bed. Why? Because you don't do that. You don't understand why? Just do as mom tells you to do because mom knows better or dad knows better. I don't want to be a sexist here, right? And people forget this part. They think this social this social influence that we have to see dogs loving kids and kids hugging dogs. Let me pull up that statistic again, so kind of to let it sink in a little bit.
Yep.
26% of fatalities were children under 2 years old. Okay? 31,000 children are between 5 and 9 years old. It's more likely to get bitten by a dog than being hit by thunder, lightning. So,
And most dogs don't like to be hugged. They
No.
tolerate it.
right.
Okay.
Very right.
Now, I know you guys are going to have some dogs. You're going to say, wait a minute. And I agree with you. Your dog's coming up for something. Okay. And I'm not there. I don't know your dog. Maybe it is for a hug. But most dogs, you're confining them. And you look in the mirror once when you hug your dog.
Just the idea that a dog has an ear infection and you don't know about it, hugging your dog will trigger the ear infection, will trigger
right.
pain. The dog has to avoid it.
Yep.
It's a reflex.
Yep.
Does
Anybody
anybody have any
watch the-
questions?
Yeah, not yet. Everybody
Okay.
is just intently watching. For those of you who saw the show last week, you saw little Sasha. And I want to talk about this because this is where a lot of bites happen. The couch. Okay.
Mm.
She was new. She's never been to that house. All right. And she was stressed the whole weekend. So she was already in an elevated stress level anyway. And good things happened and learning things happened, which is good. So what happened was, well, the personal space is now the 3 feet around that couch, not 3 feet around her for one. But look what happened at that point. Tibbs came in. She expressed her displeasure because it startled her, possibly. And guess what? He backed out. He understood. How many of you would have said, Sasha, stop doing that? Well, Tibbs was the one that got it. He respected what she had said. So communication. Okay. And the couch, we always remember that. She was up there safe and he went past her safe place.
Yeah.
Too close. So.
And I see where people coming from and says no dogs on the couch.
Oh, I have
think
my
that's-
dogs on the couch.
that's
but I've had them for a long time.
Right? But we need to understand that many people with dogs go on a couch have the couch as a safe place.
Mhm.
Why? Because the bed is in a high traffic area. The dog doesn't feel safe on his bed. He feels safe on the couch. And then the other thing that happens very often is kids get usually hurt in the kitchen. Why? Because the dog food is there, because the dog treats are there, right? Because excitement is there, because competition is there, plastic bags open and close, all these foods are going. It's kind of like a hub of nutrients there. And especially if dogs eat low quality food, that kind of becoming an issue. And the other thing that we see very often is around yards. Kids come into the yard. Oh, yeah, well, he didn't announce himself. He just thought, he has dogs in his house. So he opens the gate, comes in. and the dog, of course, doesn't recognize the kid, right? And up we go, we have an issue. And then we have dog beds. Kids go to the dog bed, dog is hiding his bone because he doesn't want any other pets taking the bone. The kid has no clue because the dog sits actually on it. Approaches the dog gives him a link, stares him down, growls him, lifts the lip, growls him, turns his head away, like all these signals towards the kid, and the kid doesn't even have a clue how to clean his butt. How will he learn how to read body language on a dog when trainers don't even know that?
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, we have an issue. And it's not the first time, it's happening many times. It's just some point the dog is fed up and then he acts upon it.
Now the hallway. Let's touch on that a little bit more.
Okay.
Anybody know why the hallway is an issue?
Yeah, because dogs need room to
It's
be able
confined
to move.
space.
It's a
narrow.
confined space, right? Now we have other dogs next to each other. The dog opens up, the door opens up, people come in, excitement goes up over the roof, and in that excitement level, excitement becomes anxiety.
Almost like an
Anxiety,
echo back and forth off
right,
the
right.
wall.
And anxiety becomes an unregulated emotion, which means the dog is not in control of his emotions anymore. And now a kid wants to hug his mom while the dog wants to pet mom. And all of a sudden, we have a growl and redirected aggression because the dog cannot handle it anymore.
And there's something very important about a hallway. There's no options for the dog to do
Avoid.
anything because somebody's standing in front of him. If
Right.
somebody is standing, there's no options. He
Mhm.
has to bite his way out. There's
Now, one
nowhere-
other thing that I see very often, dogs who have rabies miasm, which is a side effect of rabies vaccinations, get very picky about confined spaces.
Oh yeah.
They start being reactive in a crate towards other dogs and other pets and children and people. They get reactive in hallways. They get super angry and frustrated if it rains, water is involved. It can go either way.
And
Rabies
it's hard
was-
to diagnose too.
Yes, because you have to see the volume of these individual pieces, and then you have to see the timeline of those behaviors, and then you can find out the root of it. Because usually when you go to a veterinarian, he has to say it wasn't.
Oh yeah.
He cannot say it was, unfortunately.
That's right.
Because that would mean he has to write a protocol, he has to write the FDA, blah, blah, blah. You know, he doesn't get paid for it. So they kind of look away from that.
And he has an association that oversees him too. And
Right. But you know what happens? Once you leave the veterinarian's office and it doesn't happen in the same week, it's not considered directly connected.
no, it's not. No.
And yep, that's it.
It's very hard when you've got a medical issue like that. And I don't even do that. Okay. If I suspect it, then I send him to Rome and he has resources out there. Okay. All right. We have a question.
Yeah, with Pyrenees, I do wonder how many issues are driven by their protective, tolerant nature, which may cause a kid to push the dog looking for a reaction.
I've seen it.
Well, very often, because we have to see, you know, a guardian breed has genetics, right? Let's call it 25% to go numbers. These are genetic predispositions. So you have a breed trait. You have a breed trait, for example, that is not easily tolerating changes, which is important because the dog gets very reactive if change happens.
Mhm.
So the dog is in the prairie, cares for his animals, and suddenly something changes. He needs to trigger. And then that change doesn't go away very quickly because that change is still there as a threat until it's confirmed that it's gone. So how long will a predator hang out there? 72 hours at least. So I would say a dog is triggered, and for the next 72 hours, he's being still alert for the same issue. And where it's coming from, it's a survival response, right? So if you're being pulled over for speeding, how long does it take you to speed again after you get a ticket? Think of that, because you are suspicious that any corner somebody will cut you a ticket again. So you're for a very long time, for me about 3 weeks to 4 weeks.
Yeah. Now, when you have your appear as your companion, there are things that you can do. For one, you got to show, I mean, if we run into that scenario right there, well, we're teaching reactive, dogs that that are on a walk and they see another dog coming, he's deemed a threat. Well, we teach you guys, turn around, get him out of there. Okay. Show him that you've got this. It's under control. Okay. And that goes a long way with the Pyrenees. Okay. And because then you continue to do that in other areas, and you're the protector. Okay. You know, when you do something like that sticks. Okay. Episodic memory. Okay. So when somebody's pushing on your dog through the fence and you're not there, you've got a better chance of that dog coming back to you saying, Mom, he's pushing me, than him killing the kid. All right. So we have to teach them. And I'll tell you, they want to learn. They really do. They want to learn. They want to please you, especially when good things happen coming from you. So, whew, I have a lot to say. Okay. We've got, thresholds. Yes. That's what that is. Then we can move the threshold once we conquer the first one.
We teach the dog what to do at threshold. So what the other dog did very well, you explained it. When things hit the fan, the dog walked away. So the dog was at threshold and he knew what to do. He walked away from the situation. Now, as a parents, what we need to do is basically protect the dog from the unruly child that doesn't get the memo.
This is a good question. That one right there. And this is a common question, actually. And sometimes it can be dogs, okay? But this one's an 8-year-old neighbor child. I think we'd start with the parents.
My first question is, why does the dog have to meet the child? Question number 1. Question number 2, what was the incident of the dog barking at the lunch at the 8-year-old? What was the scenario?
Yeah.
And what happened before that scenario? So if a dog feeling invaded in his personal space, that he expands into these property lines, and we have the UPS guys, we have the mail coming in, we have the solicitors coming in, we have the Amazon delivery guys coming in, all these people coming in, invading, and the dog has no control of it. And suddenly he has control of it. And now suddenly it's up, the size that he can handle very easily. And I know many kids who can be very mean to dogs, not this particular kid, but other kids. So the dog has an idea of what young children can do to him. So he may be very reactive to that.
And he could have maybe he thought the child was somebody
Right.
else.
What if these
be
people
careful.
have another dog in the house? And what the dog is focusing on the scent. And so that child is being associated with the scent that he connects, which is likely a dog. And dog doesn't, we need to see how dogs see and perceive their environment. We see with our eyes. I see a plane. I know it's a DC-9 or whatever, right? It's not a Superman. It's not a UFO. It's not an alien, because I have a logic. If I scent fire, I call the fire department, right? I have a picture of fire and death. So therefore, the first thing I do, I'm going to call the fire department. And then I figure it out. Oh, maybe it's a barbecue. Or wait a minute, maybe somebody's burning leaves. But all these maybes are thoughts. It's not concrete evidence. So if it smells a predator, I'll go after that. Let's think later.
And there could be another thing here. If you read that, he was fine. He was fine with most kids, but barked and lunged at an 8-year-old neighbor. There is the possibility that he wasn't fine. He was showing restraint, but his stress level was raising. Okay. And by the time you got to him, it may have not had anything to do with that child.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the child, because he was already flooded. All right.
Right.
And what we mean by flooded is too much. The human is giving more than what the dog is capable of accepting at the time. Okay. That's what we mean by flooding. That's right. Thresholds. And how do we introduce them to children? Well, very slowly. That's a tough one, because we got to keep that dog safe. If that dog bites a child, that dog is not safe.
First of all, I wouldn't give any advice
Not
over
on
the
that.
phone kind of thing because we don't know the circumstances. My first question would be, is the child healthy? B, does the child has any disabilities? If the dog expects certain classic behaviors to come from the child and the child doesn't communicate the same way, it doesn't show the same language, then the dog gets confused. He sees that as a threat, and therefore he has to be guarding behaviors.
Hmm.
The other thing that I see, dogs do have a wide spectrum of, let's call it perception. Well, not per se visual, but perception. So if children are angry or let's call it a little bit more spiritual, their energy field doesn't look healthy, dogs may get triggered.
Yes, yes.
Children with ADD, children in the spectrum, children who are angry, children who have been with severe abuse may show a different energetic blueprint towards the dog, and the
They
dog
put
may trigger from that.
there's so many different emotions that come out of different children. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I have seen dogs that respond to children that are in the spectrum differently than children who are like not being in the spectrum. It's nothing wrong with children being in the spectrum, but some dogs pick up on these differences that are strange.
Right. Personally, if I was on a walk and there were kids starting to show up, I'm sorry, but personally, I'd take my dog home.
Mhm.
I mean, the children have a right to be out there also, because it's hard to say, please don't approach my dog.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, because they don't understand why. Adults have a problem understanding why a lot of times. So,
I would
that's a tough
definitely.
one.
Um, I mean, if who was that again?
Julie.
Julie. I would
Mhm.
say reach out to either of us
Yeah.
and let's talk about that because it's not something it's out of the book. We have to really work it to that level so the dog, you understand the dog's body language and messages. The dog start building trust, so he trusts you through the process. The child should be under control so we can manage the child even over distance. We need to work on thresholds. We need to check on locations. Does the dog respond in different location, a different way? um, and yeah, there are so many things that play a role that is too much of a risk to just throw something out there to say something.
Right.
No, I wouldn't. I
That's
wouldn't.
a
I
tough
wouldn't
one.
do that.
That's what I was. Yes, highly suggest get a hold of Roman, myself. But that's very, very. We got to keep the children safe, which is keeping your dog safe. Because if your
Right.
dog bites a child, you know, everybody's going to be mad at him. Okay, so children are different, and Roman's absolutely right
Mhm.
on that. There's so many different things that can happen here that has already led up to part of it, and that
Mhm.
child had nothing to do with it. So, wow, that was a good question, though.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah,
Never be afraid of asking questions.
that's right. We're not here. Always remember, if you have a session with Roman or me or something, we're not here to judge you. We're not here to we're not here to put blame anywhere. We're on your side. We're here to help. Okay. And I get people sometimes can get offended when it hits them. Wow, this is my fault. We didn't say that. Well, maybe we
Mhm.
did if it was blatant. I mean, it depends on the person.
I haven't seen a
Personally,
person.
I don't have good bedside manner.
Right. I haven't seen a person who knowingly did something wrong. Okay, those people don't even reach out to a trainer to
No.
start with. So
Right.
everybody that we work with basically didn't know better, was given bad advice, um, thought something else is happening because there was no education around dogs. And people, just because you had many dogs in your past doesn't mean you're fluent in speaking dog. I know trainers, and I can
We
call
were born
myself.
that way.
I don't know all the cues because it's not just a language.
Yeah.
It's a language that comes in as a picture. Imagine an emotional picture. So if I tell you I was um, in my weekend house, you will have a different picture than Steve will have. So I will talk about the weekend house. Steve knows that I live in Greece, so he can see already the beach and the boat and the fish, me, with a spare gun going down hunting fish, and you think I'm on the Alps. So if you try to translate that information the dog gives you, you need to understand his point of view and the messages that come in: the tail, the foot, the leg, the head, the skin, the coat. All these things are part of that information package. It's kind of like an emotional screenshot that comes in and again and again and again, up to 14 times per second.
That's right.
A lot of information.
That's
So dogs perceive 14 informations per second when it comes into the environmental triggers that we actually see nothing. We're
Yeah.
blind.
Yeah.
And so many things happen. Only if you see it in slow motion, you will see how many interactions the dogs are doing with each other.
And one other thing to add to that, if you want to hear what your dog hears, smell what your dog smells, and see what your dog sees,
You have to be a dog.
you got to be down. You got to be down on his level. Things are different up here than it is down there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
An example.
You know where he of Great Pyrenees learns a lot? Well, you better lay down, because he lays down and he's looking around, and you can call him, and he's not stubborn. He's at work.
Mhm.
He's not gonna clock out because he's gonna get shorted his paycheck. You have to be able, he has to know that you can do his job. Then he'll come to you. So
A
lot
classic
here.
classic example is we perceive our staircases as staircases. Now we're up there, we see staircases. Do this. Go on your knees and then go on your hands and look at the staircase.
Yep.
What do you see? You see a wall.
Yep.
Okay? Because the staircases are just like a wall. Why would the dog go against the wall?
Mhm.
Now, on the other hand, the dog wants to go downhill the staircase. Wait, for us, it's just two legs going downhill. For the dog, is all the weight goes on his front legs. He doesn't want to go down there. It's hurt his shoulders. All the body weight goes on the shoulders. At some point, two legs carrying all the weight.
That's right.
The dog doesn't want to go down the staircase. And what
And
we usually do,
then if you have just hardwood staircases, now you add slippery to it.
yeah.
Yeah. You don't want your dog tumbling down your stairs, because chances are you're going to the vet.
Right.
Okay?
And we have to be careful when we take the dogs out for a walk and we have the kids and the stroller. So many things can happen. Don't take two dogs for a walk. Just take one. Do another round. Have another person. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't put yourself at risk. You put your child at risk.
Yep.
And then we have a dog for a couple of years, and then suddenly we have a baby coming in the house. And again, I don't want to show you that fear porn picture of
Yeah, because it
zero.
doesn't happen all the time.
And suddenly we have a new baby in the household, and that baby is an intruder. Suddenly it's here. It wasn't there before. It yells, it screams. The dog is being outcast from his room he always hangs out with. He cannot jump on the bed anymore. Now everything happens because of that little thing. It yells and screams and stinks like a child.
But
Right.
if you have taught your dog other ways, and if you've got the relationship with your dog, and I mean, it doesn't have to be me and Roman or any behaviorist that has taught you this. Sometimes, you pick up on it. And I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't need us. Okay. And so we're not saying this happens all the time. We're saying it's a change, and be aware. Okay. And there are ways to prep your dog for this too.
So if somebody's interested, just in case, I do have a parenting program teaching parenting to people who know about dogs but just want to go to the next level.
Yeah.
I recommend to reach out to me and we talk about that. I
Right.
want to put together a class. Steve has joined one class for foster homes, but I'm going to start a class around COVID dogs. So we are more aware, being proactive rather than reactive, and all these things that you need to know. It's basically a whole weekend class.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
I like that, because I'll tell you, because you're in there, and you're going to learn. All right. I mean, you're going to learn unless you already know it. Sometimes I have a lot of aha moments when I talk to Roman. Sometimes a lot of refreshers. Okay. And I've been doing this a long time, Now we're on a little bit overtime. If you guys have questions for the folks that are going to watch the replay of this, feel free to comment. We'll get notifications, okay? And we'll try to get to your answers, okay? But always remember, you can't change your dog's behavior, most of it from behind a keyboard. Whenever somebody says, "Why did my dog growl at me?" I have a lot of questions, and my next question is determined by your previous answer. So it gets a little hard sometimes. Roman's pretty good at this, though. He comes up here, and remember, we used to have the Ask Roman segment. I tell you, that's hard. I wouldn't do that myself, but he's got it. He's a way better communicator than I am. So anyway,
I appreciate
I
it.
get down. I try to get to the point, but there's no time here. I mean, it depends on where it takes us. It's just where everything takes us, and you are our eyes, and then in the end, you are the parent that knows what we know about your dog, because that's how we do this. We teach you. So anyway, all right, man. Whew, what a show.
Can I share something before
Absolutely.
we close?
Yeah.
I think it's important because we just need to become aware.
I just don't want people to think that all dogs are bad.
No,
they're not. I mean, we got a high percentage of dogs that see a child and they hightail it. Whoop, I don't want anything to do with that one.
I'm the person who always blame the cats.
Yeah, I run away from children. All right.
So here is this triangle that I want to introduce you. You see that those things are directly related to each other. A thought creates feelings. Feeling creates behavior. Behavior reinforces thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a circle that goes around. So if we want to change the dog behavior, we need to understand what the dog is thinking to offering that behavior. Okay? So if we're not aware what the dog is thinking, and if we're not aware what the dog behavior is coming from and how the dog feels about that behavior, then we'll not be able to change that.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
So, and also, in case anybody's wondering where I was last week, how it's going with Tibbs, it's going great. Everybody learned a lot with my visit last week, and I learned, Lori learned, Tibbs learned, all the dogs learned. We all learned a lot, and that's why there was something I couldn't learn from the computer. All right. So anyway, everybody, thanks for joining us. Feel free to reach out to us and post questions in there. Roman's got his website, which ain't handy right now, but
I'll
right
put
here.
it up there.
Here it is, right here. Holisticdogtraining.org. All right. I'm not for hire. I don't have a fancy ass website. All right. I work in rescue. My job is keep the dogs in their homes. Okay. And sometimes just by special referral, like Mr. Tibbs. All right. So, and I'll tell you, I got my hands full too, just like Roman. I tell you, this COVID, everybody got different opinions on it.
Internationally,
it wreaked havoc on the dogs. It really did, and it changed a lot of things. And we don't.
I talked with a couple of therapists that I know. They are children therapists.
Mm-hmm.
I learn a lot of therapists, children therapists, because dogs are like children at some point. I had a colleague in Austria. He's a therapist, children therapist. The psychologists are booked out for 6 months. Clinics are full.
Mm-hmm.
No places to put the kids in therapy.
Right.
So it's not just the dogs, or the children. And I know many people struggling.
And I've talked to adults that are in therapy over all this. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. They're seeking help. They couldn't figure it out. They're asking for help. Never not ask for help. That's very important. Okay. There's your tip of the day. Always ask for help if you need it. Don't be ashamed. Nobody that counts is going to give you a hard time about it. All right. So, all right, everybody. What a night. I hope, let us know in the comments what you think. Give us a good review, bad review. We don't care. All right. Because any review is a good review for us, because we learn. We want to make this your show too. So
bark about it.
and Linda and hopefully Linda and Reagan will be back next week. That'd be great. At least one of them. So here we go. We're done for the day. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye bye.